Hey everybody, what's going on? My name is Liam from Videography, and today we're going to be talking about what is, in my opinion, one of the best lenses you can get to upgrade from your kit lens. Now we have two quick disclaimers to get out of the way before we can get into the video. The first of these two disclaimers is that I am a videographer, as the name of my channel would suggest, so most of what I'm going to be talking about in this video is going to be aimed towards videographers. But I'm sure photographers can find something useful in here as well. The second disclaimer is that this lens is an APS-C lens, meaning it will not work on full-frame cameras such as the Canon 5D, so I really recommend you do the research to make sure that this lens is going to be able to work for your camera if you decide to pick it up. I'm sure many videographers and cinematographers have been in the same situation as me, where you've got your kit lens, you've used it for a couple months, you really got the hang of your camera, and you're looking for something better to upgrade to. The only issue is lenses can be very expensive, and it can be hard to find a good piece of quality glass that's not going to break the bank. Enter the Sigma 17 to 50mm lens. This is my favorite lens that I currently own, and it is, in my opinion, a perfect upgrade from your kit lens for a couple reasons, and we're going to talk about those real quick and why I think you should definitely pick this lens up if you're looking to upgrade. The first thing I want to touch on with this lens is image stabilization. Yes, it does have it. Most kit lenses do have image stabilization as well, but once you start looking at more expensive lenses with image stabilization, it can get very pricey. Thankfully, this lens is only about $400. I got it for $300 on eBay. I'm sure you can find a good price like that if you looked around a little bit. And yeah, it has image stabilization, which is really great. The next thing we're going to talk about is aperture. This lens can go down to 2.8, which is a great aperture for low light shooting. It's going to really help you shoot in places you couldn't shoot with 4.5 or 5.6. I know there's a couple of the apertures that kit lenses like to use, but this one has 2.8, which is really nice. Next up, this is something that people who are using kit lenses, and I don't know if all kit lenses did this, but mine did it, and that is it changes the aperture when you zoom in and out, which is incredibly annoying. After months of shooting on a lens that changed my aperture when I zoomed in and out, it was so nice to have the freedom to zoom in and out without having to worry about my aperture, and this lens does not do that, thankfully. I could not stand that. That was one of my biggest issues with my old kit lens, and this lens thankfully fixes that issue. Now, I do have two issues with this lens, unfortunately. The first is that I have noticed a heavy amount of chromatic aberration when shooting out in direct sunlight. Obviously, the majority of lenses are going to give you chromatic aberration, but I've noticed that this one has a little more than most. It can be fixed with an ND filter or just messing around with settings until you can minimalize it. I haven't really been able to get rid of it fully, but this is in direct sunlight, so if you move to shade, you're probably not going to have that issue. The other thing I'm not a huge fan of is the build quality. It is a little plasticky, but once again, this is a cheaper lens, so you really can't complain. And while we're on the topic of build quality, while it might not feel the best, this lens can take a beating. And I know this firsthand because I dropped it on the road with my camera attached to it. Thankfully, my camera, which I'm shooting on now, and this lens were fine. The only issues I noticed, I think this lens cap actually really saved the lens. It's got some scuff marks on it, but I think the lens cap, having that on there, definitely saved it. But the only issue I've noticed with this lens is that it's got a bit of a shaking sound to it, so that's kind of annoying, but I mean, I dropped it on a road, so I can't really complain that much. One more thing I want to talk about before I show you guys some video footage of this lens is the focus ring is actually very smooth on here. I've worked with a lot of lenses in the $500 price range, and this focus ring is really nice. It holds up better than most, and if you're someone who's had to deal with an obnoxious focus ring, this is going to be awesome. It's going to be cool. You're going to like it. So that wraps up my pros, cons, and comparisons with this Sigma 17 to 50mm lens, and I want to show you guys some video footage I got using this lens really quickly. Well, alright guys, that wraps up today's episode of Videography. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Leave a comment down below and let me know what I can do better if you watch the episode. Feedback is always appreciated. Maybe leave a like or subscribe if you enjoyed the content I'm putting out, and I will have more gear related videos out soon. I really want to focus on cheaper gear that gets the job done as well as tips and tricks I've picked up along the way as a up-and-coming videographer. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I will see you next time. Bye.